we need to be explorers. We need to experiment. I know Mama Gina, who I went to her school, the School of Womenly Arts. It's all about learning about pleasure in life. And she talks about pleasure research. Do your pleasure research. Figure out what works for you.
I love that.
Figure out what works for you. Figure out what turns you on, not sexually, but what turns you on in life, right? Figure out what excites you in life.
Right.
And then bring more of that into your life. Because we have the choice to do that.
Right. And life is not all about struggle.
It isn't. It's actually the opposite.
I know.
See, I love that you brought that up because it is the opposite. Life is about pleasure and joy and love, right? And it is this, and I don't want to get too spiritual, but it's this illusion of struggle that we relate to the most versus the pleasure, the joy, the love. And because we're bombarded, especially TV, I stopped watching TV. It was not serving me.
No.
So I now live in my bubble, call it my bubble. I'm okay with that.
I live in my bubble.
Listen, I learn about the news when I need to learn about the news. I hear about the major things. I watch the royal wedding for a few minutes on Saturday. I enjoy seeing history being made, right? The first time a biracial person joins the royal family. That was huge. A+ to Harry. And his mother would have been really proud. So I do stay connected to what's happening in the world, but I choose what to plug into and when to unplug. Because if I don't do that, then it's on me that I feel. I'm very empathic. So like many of my clients many of them are empathic too, empaths. And I'm surrounded by a community of empaths. So we feel things very deeply.
Yes.
And so if that's the case, that means that when somebody gets shot or a kid jumps out a window or it just wrenches my heart like you would not believe. And so if it has that effect, I'm not going to put myself through it unless there's something that I can, do about it and any cause that I can help, obviously. But I'm not going to punish myself by exposing myself to that every day. It's not helping me.
So some of the things that we can take away from that is finding what brings us the giggle factor, what makes us happy. And because it is something that I'm good at on occasion, I'm not going to say I'm there all the time because I do have my days. Okay, something just fell off the table. It was probably my son saying, "Yeah, Mom." There are days where I'm good and everything is awesome and I'm seeing the positive side, and then I have those days where I hit bottom. And I know everybody does.
Yeah, we all do.
And then there's the days where you try to get out of that struggle, and what I'm finding is there's a reason I'm in that struggle. There's a reason that I'm feeling this way, and what is the root cause, and how can I align with it so that I can witness it. I guess that's maybe the right word I want to use, is to witness what that element is, and how can I adjust, whether it's adjust my thought patterns, adjust my environment, and looking for ways to transition. So yeah, and like today is one of those milestone days of mine, and I'm having, this morning was a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. And, being able to be with that is okay too, Cindy, right? So part of it is being in the moment too. And Mama Gina also teaches that when you're going through that crunch, there is no circumventing it. The best and fastest way to get through it is to be in it.
Yeah, to witness it, to
really
feel it.
Yeah, she really believes that.
Yeah, and because we want so badly to, we're told
Avoid it.
Avoid it. Get over it. You
Right.
can't get over it.
Right.
You
have to go through it.
You have to walk the path.
Yeah.
You have to stumble on that little pebble that's in your way and climb over the boulder that you have placed in front of yourself.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate, kind of where our conversation has, kind of wandered. It definitely was not what I anticipated, but my interviews rarely are ever where I expect them to go.
Well, isn't that the excitement, the part of the excitement? Imagine if you knew everything, it would be so boring.
Yes and no. It's kind of like you'd like to know where the outcome is going to be.
Yeah. We're open. We're open to what happens, to what emerges, right? How can we possibly imagine that, right? I'm glad you brought that up for a reason, Cindy, because when we have a very limited view of what's possible, right, then we're not allowing what is actually feasible to occur.
Right. And we're like you said, we're focused here.
Yeah.
What's out here waiting for us that is like well beyond.
Wow. Exactly.
Then when we're so focused here, we don't allow this really spectacular, knock our socks off event thing, whatever situation to manifest and come into our space or into our experience. And
that's right. And usually what happens is when we're in this little box, we feel really comfortable.
Yes, we do.
That's a really cozy place. We're nice and snug against the wall. So that
the big heavy.
So this is my place right here. I'm not going anywhere. Right? And that's what that is. Right? You're good to go.
Yep.
This out here, what is that? I don't know that.
I don't know that, and it's freaking the bejeebies out of me. Do I really want to go there? Wait, I am kind of curious. Well, what would that be like?
Yeah. So I think having that open mind about our lives is going to give us the opening. And in coaching, we have this term called natural openings. So when you're coaching a client, you can see when they have like that aha moment or when they crack a door,
Right.
And you find that that's the natural opening for whatever it is that's trying to emerge to come out. In your life, if we really witnessed our life more and stop taking things so personal, we could actually see that so much of what happens around us are natural openings. But because we have blinders on, and I'm doing ABC right now. That's all I'm doing. And I understand that it's the mind's way to be able to make sense of all that's happening around us. But if we took these blinders off and said, wait a minute, I'm getting divorced. Wait a minute, I have to pay child support. Wait a minute, I need to stay in this town and I can't work near the city where I can make more money. Wait a minute, I'm going to need to start my own business. Wait a minute, that means I'm going to start to step up into my greatness. Wait a minute, that means I get to work from home. Wait a minute, that means I get to take my son to school and pick him up. Wait a minute, that means I don't have to commute 4 hours a day. Wait a minute, that means I get to choose what weeks and what days I work. Wait a minute, that means I get to take vacation whenever I want. Wait a minute. So my point is, you go from what you think is disaster, like, how could this be happening to me, to realizing, no, this is happening for me. Because if you weren't for these situations, I wouldn't even be contemplating going out on my own, writing a book, becoming a motivational speaker, going around traveling wherever I want to travel to speak, creating retreats wherever I want, creating my own schedule, hustling, because I have to hustle. We all have to hustle. The question is, you're going to hustle for somebody else, you're going to hustle for yourself, right? So the point is, we do need to take our blinders off, but we have to be ready to do that. And a lot of it starts with stepping into your own greatness and stepping into what do I offer the world that's uniquely me. And when you hone in on that, I know I've been talking about a unique value proposition all day. When you hone in on that, it's a game changer.
It is, and that's what I'm on the edge of right now. And we lead by our experience. That's what makes us the great teachers and the leaders that have the heart, because been there, done that. I am reaching back to help the person who's 2 steps behind to
wants to get to where you are. Yes.
And let them know that, one, you're not alone, and it's okay, and somebody is here to support you. And for me, today is my birthday.
Yay, happy birthday.
Thank you. The hardest part, which is where I've been struggling the most with, is the fact that my son, who died a year ago, he was always, it didn't matter where in the world he was always my first phone call that I got to wish me a happy birthday.
Yeah.
And even when he was in the service and he was out to sea, he somehow, one way or another, he got a call into me or a text message or something. He was always the first person. And so, and I think that's part of where my baseline for like the Awareness University is coming from is through Jeremiah and my other son Mason, because without Mason, there would be no mama. I would be toast. He's my rock. He's what's gotten me through all of this. And but anyways, so the baseline is so that I can help other people.
That's right.
Understand that, yes, the most tragic thing in my life to date, losing a child.
Yes.
I am turning this around and looking at it as, okay, I've been gifted this situation and I have to look at it that way. Yes. Otherwise, I, as a mom, I can't function. Right. Otherwise, I really can't.
Right.
And so how can I use this to better my situation and in the process reach back and help the individuals 2 steps behind me, or that have been, who have, those that have had the children that have passed on years ago, but they can't get past it. They can't see.
They can't move on.
They can't move on. And so, I'm seeing that this is how I can really help people to get through the grief and to live a life in motion, because living a life in motion simply means taking the steps towards a direction that makes you feel good, to make you feel good about life, about yourself, about your situation, whatever that situation is, and wrapping it all up with the elements for a healthier life. And it's so funny how all of this is just wrapping this big, beautiful circle, and it's all interconnected and all weave, because with the elements, when one area of our life is out of balance, everything somehow, some way, just kind of lops around and isn't in
Absolutely.
balance. So sorry, I'm crying.
No, it's okay. And this is what I also say, Cindy, that because it's our life, we always look at it from our perspective, because that's the only way we have the ability many times to look at it.
Right.
However, what happens, I always say to my clients is that I know from my own experience, everything that I've been through in my life has prepared me to do what I do today.
Yes.
Yeah. Everything. So I call it training. I call it boot camp.
Yeah.
I feel like we are, seriously, I feel like from the minute we're born until the minute we connect with our truth and purpose, and by the way, that can change, that can evolve
It
over your
does change.
lifetime.
It does evolve.
Because mine has definitely evolved, right? When I first started, my purpose was to be financially independent, to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, to have a career. So once that's accomplished, it evolves into what is your truth and purpose now, and what is your truth and purpose now, and as when I became a mom, it evolved. When I became, when I left my corporate job to do my own business, that evolved. So it's constantly evolving because it's dynamic. And as we grow and learn, that changes. But I do believe that everything that has happened from the minute I was born until today, all of my experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, has given me the tools and the training to understand someone who has been in my shoes.
Right. And it's to help, exactly, to help those that are stepping into similar situations and to better understand the person who's already been there and done that. And so you can appreciate and also learn from them.
Exactly.
It's not a matter of learning, what did they do wrong? I'm doing it better.
No.
It's about, it's finding the grace in it and seeing, wow, I'm not the only one.
Right.
And that's the biggie, because when like you said, with the blinders, when we get so stuck on the blinders, we lose sight that there is someone else that may have that one pearl of wisdom that's that like pivots it.
Yeah, helps you shift things and you have that aha moment and you never saw it that way before.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I know it's hard when you're in the muck, when you're in the soup, as one of my mentors says, when you're in that soup, you feel like a trapped fly. But the reality is that being in that soup and how we're able to elevate ourselves out of that soup is part of the training. And that when we connect to that higher purpose and we want to really call upon our higher self. And I know you mentioned that there are days when they're tough. And I believe that we need to be compassionate with ourselves, because not every single day is going to be a rock star day, right? I think of myself as if you took a magazine and you folded it like this and you looked at all the slivers, right? We are aspects, right, of the creator, in my opinion. So every single day, we may get to experience a different aspect of who we are. It does not mean that we're evil or bad or not authentic. It just means that that's the part of us that's driving the bus that day. And ideally, right, ideally, you want to be the higher self the most, right? Because that higher self is compassionate, it's caring, it's nurturing, it's loving, it's, loves fun, it's curious. The higher self doesn't have the blinders on. The other parts of us that are wounded are the ones that are trying to protect us from the fear and from growing and from stepping out of our box, because everything's cozy in here.
It's safe. It's safe in the spot.
Exactly. But that's okay, because those are all aspects of who we are. And when we recognize and witness those parts of who we are, we stop hating ourselves. We stop berating ourselves, and we start to be more compassionate and say, wow. And the key at that point is to ask that part of us. And I know this sounds like we're, multiple personality disorder. We're not. I'm just saying it's true, right? When we notice that aspect of us who is jealous, or that aspect of us who wants what the neighbor has, or that aspect of us who wants to win, or that aspect of us who's acting in a way that we're like, what is that? Right? To acknowledge that part of us and say, wow, this part of me really wants to win. And guess what? Having that competitive edge is not a bad thing, depending on what you do for a living. Right. So we pull on different aspects of who we are based on the situation. And so by denying aspects of who we are, like if you're power hungry, there's a part of you that may be power hungry, that wants to be in control, that wants to be the boss. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Because that's going to give you fuel. That's going to fuel your ambition to grow and to do great things, and hopefully to add value in a big way.
Mhm.
But it's when that aspect of us takes over the bus and wants to be the only one that drives that we may get in trouble, because then that part of us may be dismissive of being, compassionate towards other people, of being nurturing to other people, of being letting other people speak. That part of us can be overpowering. And that's why the higher self needs to be the one who's in the driver's seat, acknowledging that there's other parts of who we are that will step in as we need them to step in. That's a huge level of awareness when you talk about, awareness on the edge. That's really bringing in massive awareness about who I am and what parts of me are present, what parts of me are trying to emerge, and then most important, you getting curious with yourself and saying, what do you want? What do you want to say to me right now? Why are you coming up at this point? And I imagine like a little fire pit right in the middle with your community of the parts of who you are around that fire pit. And you being the higher self, the compassionate, the curious, the caring, asking those other parts. I notice this jealous part of me is out here, wants a place at the table to speak right now. And you getting curious and saying, what do you want to say? Once you understand that part of you and come up to, get an agreement as to what it is that part is doing at the moment, you can then choose what you want to do with that.
Mhm.
But if you're unaware, you just think, I'm just a jealous bitch.
And
You know what I'm saying?
and then you shut the whole internal conversation down, and now you've just
Exactly.
labeled yourself,
as a whatever.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just a greedy blank.
Yeah.
And that isn't the case, right? That greediness part of you, that greedy part of you, you need that part of you sometimes.
Right.
That part's going to give you the fuel you need to be creative at a certain time. So
Right.
let's embrace all of who we are. And that's when we've truly arrived. When we appreciate all the parts of who we are.